I want to become one of those four icons, right?
And we have email, text, maybe Spotify, and Healthee.
Yeah, and Healthee, exactly. And we did like a design a picture where we see an iPhone with Healthee on one of those four, because that's the vision. That's where we want to get to.
Welcome to Self-Funded with Spencer, sponsored by Pareto Health, ClaimDoc, and PlanSight. Whether we're discussing innovative new healthcare strategies, exposing hidden revenue streams or misaligned incentives, or even just cheering on the next generation of this industry, we promise you that you're going to learn something. So thank you for joining us for another great conversation about the future of healthcare.
For example, one of the things that we show is price transparency. We help employees pick, an MRI that's going to be much lower cost than if they go to a specific location. They can find something that's much lower cost, but still high quality. And I truly believe that if we are, when we get to millions of users and we get to a point where everybody's shopping and everybody knows that they need to shop before they go to get an MRI, for example, those locations that charge 10x will understand that nobody's going to come to them if they keep charging so much, and then hopefully it will lower the cost. I think transparency and consumerism in healthcare can really help in that sense.
Yeah, and that's one, and I think we're probably rolling. Yeah, so we're live, and we'll probably keep that anyways. Yeah. But I think consumerism, to me, we were talking about high deductible health plans and HSAs earlier. The one part where I think consumerism fell short is people were not armed with good information, and so it didn't make them better decision makers. Right. It simply put more cost burden on them in the old way, the original high deductible health plan.
Sure.
Enter Healthee, right? And companies like Healthee, let's actually make them better consumers.
Let's make them better consumers. Give them because I also believe that if you give somebody the right data and information, you don't need much more than that. They'll be a smart consumer if they have the right information and right tools, right?
Yeah, the argument against it's not like the average American is dumb.
No.
It's the average American just does not have experience with how to navigate the system.
Yeah, think about if you had Amazon, but there's no prices right on the site, and you have to use Amazon with no
quality scores
and no quality scores, and you don't even know when it's going to come, right? That's what the healthcare is today, right?
That's a great analogy.
And I think, we talk about it all the time. We want to make the experience with healthcare like an Amazon experience, where you go and you know exactly the quality, you know how much it's going to cost, you know where can you get it done, when. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. And I think eventually, if we get to a critical mass, it will have to impact the entire healthcare system.
It has to, it has to. And we'll go and introduce you now, Guy. I love when the podcasts just sort of start, right? Yeah. And it makes it for, I think, a better listening experience. But I'm sitting down with Guy Benjamin, your founder of Healthee. Healthee with 2 E's, because Healthee is healthy employees. The code is EE. But thanks for coming back on the show, man.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things we want to do, of course, is catch back up. You actually told me that you were episode 98, which I think you'll be technically episode 151, but was pretty cool because I don't often get to sit back down with founders, especially you were relatively early stage then, and catch back up and see how it's going. And it sounds like it's going pretty darn good, man.
Yeah, we had a crazy year, right? So during the 50 episodes that you did, we had a crazy year, actually an explosive year for us.
That's awesome, man. And I want to talk about the explosive growth. Obviously, being in the world of sort of digital health or insurance technology, it's evergreen. It's constantly evolving, right? You didn't just make a product and launch it and it's finite. It's done. So the evolution of that, got to catch up with Nina a couple weeks ago and Omer as well. And I just love what you guys are doing, honestly. And to see you guys succeed, not surprising, but also excited that that's the case. So why don't you give me some, well, actually, before we even get into the most recent year, let's reposition what Healthee is, just so if somebody didn't see that first episode.
Yeah, sure. So Healthee basically is a one-stop AI platform for everything that has to do with health and wellness benefits. So we are a platform that basically has decision support, so we help employees choose the best plan for them and their families. We have care navigation, so we help them figure out what they're covered for, how much it's going to cost, where can they go, which doctor. We do price transparency for cost, and we do telehealth. All in one. So one platform where everything could be done on that platform. And then on top of it, we provide employees kind of like their own personal health assistant. Her name is Zoe. She's an AI tool. She's always available, obviously, never on PTO, never take any break. But you can answer any question about your health benefits. So you can go to Zoe and say, my daughter needs a speech therapist. And she'll tell you if you're covered for it based on your plan, where can you get it done based on your network of providers, how much it's going to cost you based on your deductible, and then book you an appointment. All without talking to a single person.
And it's amazing. And one of the big differences of that is, I joked the last time, and I went back and watched the last episode, I joked it was like a Siri or like an Alexa.
Right.
But those are sourcing sort of open information that's just accessible on the internet. This is information that pertains to that individual member and their plan itself. Right?
It's hyper-personalized, meaning it knows your plan, your eligibility, your medical, dental, vision, your point solution from your employer, your wellness program, everything is embedded into Healthee. So you're right. It's not, you'll never get that information off the internet. You got to find and curate those documents, which we do. And then the cool thing that we do about our technology is we'll take all those health plans, medical, dental, vision, all those point solutions, and we'll convert them using AI from an unstructured data source, which is just a nicer way to say PDF, to a structured and mapped database. So we'll extract thousands of different data points from these plans, and we'll make it much more accessible so Zoe and the user can actually interact with their health plans.
Yeah, and what you mentioned sort of like core pillars of what you do, but like what do you define your category that you exist in as? Like what's the best thing to call it?
I think first of all, we're a category defining company.
Okay. Creators, right? Because we have a ton of competitors, but they're doing piecemeals of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So when you think about, decision support, many companies do just that. Care navigation, there are many companies that only do that. Same with price transparency and same with telehealth. But we're the only company that does all of that together in one place, one platform, and the only one that are leveraging AI to do that, right? So we're not human labor kind of like focused. Right, or AI light, which really means people behind the scenes doing it, which I've seen that happen firsthand. And it's like they will purport to be AI, but really it's like a very basic layer, and then you have human beings doing it behind the scenes. But one of the things that I like about what you're doing, right, and I try my best not to make judgments about the better or worse in categories, but one thing I do like what you're doing, which is solving a really big problem in healthcare right now, is solving for the complexity issue, especially with self-funded employers with lots of point solutions and moving parts.
Exactly.
The biggest challenge is putting it all back together so that an individual member can make sense of what their plan options actually are. Right. And that's what you guys are attacking here.
Yeah, and I love when we talked earlier, you mentioned kind of a Rubik Cube, which I love Rubik Cubes.
That came to my head. I was going to use that again.
It's exactly that, right? We're taking all of your components, all of your medical, dental, vision plan, your point solution, your wellness program, everything that you offer for an employee, which, you offer so many things, they're overwhelmed because you're not only offering so many things, you're sending them to different places to get those things, right? Like your intranet or your vendor website or call center or your HR team. And we're kind of bringing it all together into one platform so they don't have to go anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Think about it, right? An employee will only has one place to go. It's Healthee, to figure out everything that has to do with their health and wellness benefits. It's almost revolutionary. We see ourselves as like the last mile solution for your benefits. Because when you think about it, HR leaders and CFOs and companies, they spend so much money on health benefits and on these point solutions, and nobody's using them. Not because they don't want to. They either forget about it, or they don't know where it is, or they don't know how to access it. And with Healthee, it's all in one place. So we see much more usage of benefit too because of point solutions, because they're there, right?
Well, that's it. And again, and we're talking about this idea of sort of programming, a way to program Americans to be healthier, but you are programming, if you will, the members to think healthy first, right? Exactly. And if you think healthy and get them, I'm supposed to go to Healthee. Yes, that's what I do. I click Healthee, right? As long as you can program them to take that first step, they'll realize the accessibility that's at their fingertips when they do that.
And think about the fact that because we're so many use cases in one, we meet the employee multiple times a year. We'll meet them during open enrollment, obviously. Then we'll meet them when they just need to figure out if they're covered for something. We'll meet them when they need to book an appointment with a doctor. We'll meet them when they want to talk to a therapist or a doctor virtually, right? Because we have virtual care. So we meet them so many times throughout the year, or we're available for them so many times that it kind of becomes second nature, right? Like, I have something that has to do with health and wellness benefits. I'll go on Healthee, right? And I'll find my doctor, or I'll talk to a doctor, or just pick a plan because I have a life-changing event. And because we're not one single use case solution, that's what creates engagement. By the way, if you think of, I don't know if you know, but the average number of apps that we have on our phone is about 80.
80?
80 apps.
I believe that. Yeah.
And the ones that we use even on a monthly basis is about 9.
Yep.
And the reason we're not using the other 71 is that they're single use case, right? So we don't need them. Maybe we need them once a year or even not, right?
Well, even for me too, like you have, especially with an iPhone, you have your main phone screen, you probably have folders, and then you have those 4 on the bottom that are like your frequent use. And then anything that's on that second page never gets touched.
And by the way, my vision for the company, I shared this in one of our last all hands, I want to become one of those four icons, right? For apps, and we have
email, text, maybe Spotify, and Healthee.
Yeah, and Healthee, exactly. And we did like a design a picture where we see an iPhone with Healthee on one of those 4, because that's the vision. That's where we want to get to.
Well, I love that. And I could actually see that happen, right? Especially if there's a social component element
Right.
to it and if there's a reason to frequently interact with it.
Exactly.
Like,
And
but to me, what that speaks to is if you're driving that much value, then a person's going to self-select to decide to make that in the
Right.
top 4, right?
Exactly.
So like the onus is on you, right, to get it there.
It is on us, and we're super focused on it. I mean, we talked earlier, we're focusing on delivering and innovating.
Yeah.
We're not sitting still. We're constantly adding, I think we're now at about 6 to 12 features every quarter that we add to the platform.
Whoa, okay.
Right? I mean, we talked probably about a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah.
And we only had care navigation.
Yeah.
Now we have decision support, telehealth, and price transparency, right? So that's a year. I think we're going to be a year from now, and we're constantly adding features. And by the way, the features that we're adding are not in a vacuum, right? We hear our customers, we hear our users, we ask for their feedback, and they'll give us amazing ideas about how to make this platform even better, even more, add more value.
Well, the way you go about getting that feedback too is pretty novel, right?
Right,
You're actually asking people to jump on and like
Exactly.
talk about it on a
Yeah.
video call
Exactly.
and give your feedback, which even the ability to get people frequently to do that speaks to the
Yeah.
value that you're delivering to them.
Yeah.
But you're getting real world instant feedback, good and bad, of
Exactly.
an actual user's experience.
And we're getting ideas. I mean, it's not only these, yes, we do live user interviews almost on a daily basis, but we also solicit feedback in the app itself. Like we'll ask them, hey, how was the experience? Was it helpful? Was it not helpful? What could make it more helpful, right? So we're constantly, and I told you this, we have a Slack channel where the entire company sees it, and every time somebody adds a feedback, it shows up there. And we're getting amazing ideas. Some of them we're kind of thinking, okay, does it make sense? And some of them are like, oh, wow, this is exactly what we need to do. And we go and execute it. And half of our companies are developers, so we have and really great developers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to add, but we have amazing talent, and they'll just go and see a problem that some people may say, it's really you can't do this, and they'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Right. I keep saying that when I was in the Air Force, we had this saying that the easy we do right now, the hard give us until tomorrow. The impossible, just give us some time.
Give us some time. We'll figure it. That's it.
Exactly.
I love that mentality, man, because I think I've been in that world a little bit of the development world where you try to articulate, I need it to do this. I want the outcome to be like this. I wanted to get here this way, but then you give it to a smart developer and they make it actually happen.
Exactly.
Right? And you don't tell them how to make it happen.
Exactly.
That's their specialty.
You don't tell them. You don't tell them what to develop. You just tell them, hey, this is what I need to happen. Right. I want to be able to do this on the app. For example, every time in our app, every time you look for a doctor or any type of provider, if there's a telehealth option to that, it will show up as your first option, right? So we had to kind of understand, okay, what can actually be replaced with telehealth, right? And show that as the first option. And at first we kind of said, how are we going to do that? And we did it. And it's not working, and we're driving so much to telehealth more than before. It's amazing to see how our developers will take a problem, and you don't need to tell them the solution. They'll just figure it out and build it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the beauty of software, man. I mean, and sometimes it can be a black box, and sometimes you get not so good developers in place, and it doesn't quite land.
Right.
You guys, for whatever reason, have found the special sauce and combination of those things. And I think in a moment, we're going to talk about the big new feature that you have rolling out right now that I think will be really interesting for folks. But before I do that, I wanted to, you were telling me over coffee, and man, I don't know if I forgot this from last time or just remember the way that you positioned the problem on a slide in your very first conversation about raising money 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it was so perfectly done. Can you share that story real quick with us?
So when we raised money about 3 years ago and went to see these venture capital firms, we had the first slide we had is a quote, and it said, the U.S. healthcare system is simple, easy to navigate, and affordable. And then underneath it said no one ever.
Right.
And that's how we start. We even today, we sometimes start sales conversations and discussions.
Well, it's brilliantly put. And you even told me that it was a clickable slide, right? So you click said no one ever, and you usually get a laugh with that because what it speaks to is this universal understanding of that our healthcare system is so complex, and for most people it sucks. But the way you position it, obviously the inverse, gets a laugh out of it. What it does is like, oh, I like this guy now. He knows the problem. He's defined the problem very simply and easily for me. Now he's going to go solve it. And I just love that was like the original basis for this company.
And we've been using it for 3 years now.
And again, you said last time I went back and listened to the episode, you said you wanted to do space in an infinite market as too. But so you've simply and easily articulated the problem, and then now you're addressing, from a capital standpoint, you're addressing almost an infinite market to solve that problem as well. And so that leads me to my kind of follow-up question, right? Last time we talked talked about where you were then.
Yeah.
As much as you can share, right? Obviously, there's NDAs and things in place, but like, where are you today in terms of growth and things like that?
Yeah. So again, we had an explosive year. We grew basically 100x in 1 year.
100x. Okay.
Yeah, in 1 year. Actually, more than that. When you think about user count, revenues is 100x. We grew our headcount by more than 2x in the last year. So we're now 80 employees. We hired amazing talent all throughout the company. I will say for our leadership, we brought in our VP sales, Mike, and our VP CS, Jake from Daily Pay. We brought head of design, Shani from Facebook, from Meta. We brought a new head of product, Yael. Our entire leadership team, like our new VP finance, Michael. These are crazy talent that we brought in, and it's really cool to see how we kind of like not only grew but it also improved our talent and raised our bar, honestly. Throughout the company.
Well, and so 100x growth, right? You could say, well, like if you're relatively small at that point, but even 100x growth in a single year is an astonishing growth rate. Like so, and as we get into talking about kind of the newest feature you guys are rolling out, you're doing it essentially without that feature even being there yet. So during that last year or so, where you experienced enormous growth, was there one or two things that people were just latching onto that was just like yes, I need that? What was that?
I think it's the one-stop shop.
Okay.
I think the fact that when we spoke again, we only had like a part of the value offering that we have today. The fact that we have everything in one place, and again, we're still growing, we're still expanding.
Sure.
That kind of was like the biggest hook, I think. And we announced a few very cool partnerships. One of them is with TriNet, which is, it's an amazing partner for us. But the reason
TriNet's a PEO.
A PEO, yeah. It's one of the biggest PEOs in the U.S. with hundreds of thousands of employees that they support. It's an amazing company and also an amazing partner for us. But the reason they picked us is that one-stop shop, and they did a year-long due diligence on us. They looked at all of our competitors, and it ended up picking us. We're the youngest company that they looked at, right? And the reason they picked us, and I asked them, is that one-stop shop. It's the fact that we're not just helping with open enrollment. We're not just helping with care navigation. We have everything in one place.
Yeah. When I understand that mentality, the previous company I was at, PlanSight, which I talk about here and there, we had a similar mentality of like, yes, we're going to develop a one-stop shop for all things benefits procurement across all lines, across all sizes, really lofty goal, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot longer to develop that.
Right.
But that was also some of the hook is like, oh, it's not just for voluntary benefits. There's not just for small group. I can do my large group and my small group and my self-funded. And, it's like, okay, there's a much steeper development curve to accomplish that. But if you do it right now, you have a system that delivers everything. Pareto Health is the manager of the largest employee benefits group captive in the United States. And it's also now the main sponsor of the Self-Funded with Spencer podcast. I chose to partner with Pareto Health for three main reasons. Number one, their dedication to improving the world of health benefits. Number two, their mission to reduce volatility and to make self-funding simple for mid-sized employers. And number three, the strength and scale of their program. With over 2,300 member groups and more than $1 billion of stop-loss premium under management, Pareto Health is the most robust solution of its kind in the country, period. Stay tuned for more information because I'm sure I'll be featuring them on an episode of the podcast very soon. Visit Pareto Health at paretohealth.com or follow them on LinkedIn to stay up to date on the latest news and developments.
Everybody are facing the same issues, right? Accessibility to healthcare. It's complicated. It doesn't matter if you're in a company with 10 employees or 100,000 employees. It's still going to be complicated. And I think what we were able to build is a solution that is not, it's still customizable, but there's not much need to customize it, right? Because we're all facing the same issues, right? We all need to know which doctors we can go to. We all want to know how much things are going to cost. We all want to know which plan to pick. We're all overwhelmed. There's so many use cases of our platform.
When I say the confusion to plan design, and maybe we'll enter into the decision support tool rollout, but the confusion around plan design is that's definitely universal regardless of how big your employer's plan offering is, or if you're in the individual market, blah, blah, blah. Like just making sense of which plan to choose in and of itself is difficult. So how are you solving that particular problem?
Yeah, so we just released, we were at SHRM a week or two ago, and we kind of announced our new AI decision support tool, which is something that we've been working on for a while. It's an amazing tool that basically helps you pick the best plan for you and your family. And it does that based on a number of dozens of different factors, but some of these will ask the user, okay, what are your healthcare needs? Which doctors do you usually go see? Are you thinking that your healthcare needs are going to increase or decrease in the next year? Do you have any major medical events that you're planning? But then we'll also use predictive AI models to kind of make sure that you're not overinsured or underinsured, or there's any medical needs that you may not even be thinking about, but there's a likelihood that you're going to encounter. And we use all those data points to not only show you the plans that you have available, the side-by-side is the easy, right?
Table stakes,
Right?
Yeah.
It's pinpointing this is the best plan for you and your family, right? Like telling you this is what you should pick, and this will make sure that you're not overinsured or underinsured, and make sure that it will meet your needs. There's a lot of educational component as well, so you can explain what is an HSA, what is a PPO, what type of plan, why am I getting recommended this plan? Like, it's an amazing tool that we're getting amazing feedback on it. Like, because again, we track feedback all the time. And we're seeing people that are saying this is the best experience I ever had in choosing a plan, right? And these are people that have been choosing plans for 20 years, right? Because you do it every year.
Yeah, you do it, but you do it kind of blindly, or my employer offers these two. I guess this one makes sense.
Exactly.
You don't really necessarily intelligently.
Yeah.
Most people would just go, well, this is either the lowest cost option or my lowest out of pocket or something like that. But then how do you strike that balance, Guy, though? The underinsured, overinsured, I'm sure there's algorithms involved. There's mostly objective information, but how do you determine that balance between those two things?
So we do different weights for different factors. Again, predictive AI models to kind of figure out what are you going to need, how and when. And then, when we recommend the plan, it's based on multiple factors that are all going to place to kind of make sure that you're getting recommended the best plan for you, but we also explain to you, right? Because you can make a decision that, we'll recommend and say, this is the best plan for you because it has an HSA component that your employer is contributing, because all doctors that you usually go see accept this plan, because you don't need a referral to see a specialist because you see specialists, right? And there's many other factors. And then you can decide, well, actually, I get your recommendation, but I prefer something else. And still you can understand why you're choosing that, because everything is laid out. Like, you'll see for every plan, what are the, cons and pros and cons for every plan, so you can make a conscious decision. I will say that most of our users, like a large portion of our users, will pick the most recommended plan, and it goes to show how much trust you build with the user.
Well, I mean, if you design a tool like that, if you're getting a very high acceptance rate, then that proves that it's working, right?
Exactly.
And maybe it's I'm the kind of guy, like, if I go to a store, whatever food on the menu has a picture, I'm probably choosing that, right? Like, I'm just kind of dumb like that. But I do think that if you develop that trust and there's an intelligent recommendation, and then it's like, here is why this is the right fit for you.
The why is important.
Okay, that makes sense. I should pick that plan.
Right. And the why is super important because most of our competitors will not really recommend a plan, or they'll recommend a type, right? Yeah, you should go with the high deductible plan. But sometimes you have more than one high deductible, and sometimes you want to know why you should pick a plan. And I think that's what we're doing very differently.
One of the things that you were telling me over coffee that I thought was interesting is sort of the seamlessness. Yes, I've chosen that plan, but especially like with a TriNet too, it's like there's a seamlessness of the decision, the enrollment, and the experience after that, right? Like, it's just, there's a continuity of that whole thing.
Yeah, and seamless is, it's one of the things that we're very focused on. We want to make sure the experience is seamless to the end user, because if it's going to become cumbersome and complicated, they're not going to use it, and they're not going to have a good experience. We keep saying we're user obsessed, and we're constantly finding ways to make it more intuitive. And with TriNet, for example, it's a zero touch onboarding. The user will get TriNet as part of their, what their employer provides, and Healthee is just embedded in that. So there's nothing that they need to do. They don't need to even set up a username, right? It's just happens automatically. And we onboard tens of thousands of users from TriNet all the time, and it just happens seamlessly. And it's amazing.
Well, you tell me you wanted to build a company where you woke up and there was just a bunch of new customers on board. Like, every day you wake up and there's new customers. But I think what that speaks to is the scalability of what you've built as well. And all software would like to achieve that type of scalability.
And that's the main reason why we didn't go on the route of like, hey, we want to give you a call center agent to kind of help you navigate your health benefits, because that's not scalable. Or it's very hard to scale, right? You'll need more and more people that are manning those positions, right? Those call center positions. Because we use AI, the scale is indefinite, right? Like, Zoe can be for 600,000 people like today, or for 60 million people, right? It's not going to change.
Well, based on your trajectory, 60 million would be next year. But one of the things that I think you I think you guys have done a really good job on it. And I want to ask you how you feel like you've achieved this, but getting the actual use of the tool itself, right?
Yeah.
And we were joking about it being on your home screen earlier, but why do you think you guys have been so successful communicating and getting that in front of people and getting people to use the platform?
Yeah, I think there's a few things why. Well, first of all, we have an amazing marketing team, right, that focus on engagement. It's content writers, it's designers, it's product marketing, and they're constantly thinking of ways of how to create engagement, but not only how to create engagement, but they're also thinking about what they're doing, and if it's creating engagement, what type of engagement? Is it just like, oh, they're just going on the app just to see something, or they're actually finding a doctor or booking an appointment or using our telehealth? And they're constantly doing these A/B testing to see, okay, this works, this doesn't work. Let's change this word, or let's do, instead of a text message, a WhatsApp message, right? Or a letter to someone's house, or just an email. Like, it's really, we're constantly understanding because users are different, right? And they have different preferences, and we see what works. And when we find what works, we'll replicate that for additional engagement efforts. And we're constantly doing that. So I think that's one of the things. Our team is very much data-driven and very much focused on engagement, because we don't just provide you a tool. We are very much focused on engagement, because we know if we don't get people to use it, we can't make them healthier, right? And that's our mission as a company. We want to help people be healthier. We can't lower their costs. We want to significantly lower their costs. And customers will not renew, right? Because if nobody uses it, they're not going to renew with us. So we're very much focused on it. So I think one is our team. And then the second thing is what we discussed earlier. There's so many use cases to use our platform, right? It's not a single use case. And when you have so many use cases, you'll find what is the right use case for every user, right? So some users just want to scroll through their benefits. Some users have, they have a mental health need that they want to talk to somebody once a week. So they'll go on our app once a week and talk to a therapist for free. Some people have young kids and they need to see a doctor more often. So they'll use us to book the appointment or talk to a virtual primary care physician. So different use cases, but because we're so, I would say, flexible with the use cases that we offer, it creates by itself more usage.
Well, and you're solving people's problems really at the end of the day. And then once you solve one problem, they go, oh, I wonder if it could do this too. And then they start sharing with and so. And that's that. There's the user feedback that's coming your direction, but there's also the word of mouth feedback that's going with employees. Say, hey, you got to use that Healthee app.
Yeah, exactly. Those water cooler discussions.
Yeah,
right?
the water cooler. Yeah.
I mean, we have users that will go on the app, and then in less than a minute, they're able to see what they're covered for, where they can go, book the appointment, right? Think about that experience. They don't have to talk to a single person. Just do it on the app with a seamless experience. Once they see it, by the way, every time we show this to HR leaders, their mind is blown because it's a completely different experience. And
it's saving them time because they're getting those phone calls otherwise, right? What do I do? Yeah, or trying to get to the broker to answer a question, right? If you can answer your own questions right there.
Think about open enrollment. We have HR leaders that say, once I implemented Healthee, the number of questions I got there in open enrollment diminished. I don't get any more questions. And think about those 2 months of open enrollment, or a month, or whatever it is. They're crazy hard on HR leaders because there's so many questions. And sometimes HR, they're not supposed to be healthcare experts. They shouldn't be. They don't want to recommend a plan, right? Because that's not their. I truly believe. We have an amazing VP people, Debbie, and I don't want her to focus on helping people answer questions about their healthcare. I want her to focus on our culture, on our hiring, on talent, on learning and development. And once we have a platform like Healthee, she doesn't have to do that, right? She can focus on the things that really matters for her role and for our company.
PlanSight is a complete game changer in the world of insurance brokering. As a broker, you know how time-consuming and error-prone the traditional RFP process can be. But what if I told you there's a better way? PlanSight is the only end-to-end RFP solution on the market made specifically for benefits agencies. It's like having a superpower that gets you an average of 8 to 10 hours back per employer renewal per year. And the best part? PlanSight supports all carriers, all funding types, and all group sizes for over 20 different benefits. If you're ready to make your RFP process faster, more efficient, and more profitable, it's time to call PlanSight. Visit plansight.com now to book a free demo and discover the future of insurance renewals.
Well, and not to mention, it's just the empowerment of the individual to solve their own problems, which I think, is like, that's where, if you were to say, what is a really overarching use case for AI? It's like to answer your own questions in immediate time and get accurate answers and be able to solve your own problem and move on with your day,
exactly.
right?
Who wants to call a call center today? right?
I don't.
No, I don't either. And I think most of employees will say that they would prefer if they could have a self-service solution. I mean, think about, we talked about Amazon, but Uber, right? I remember when I was much younger, we would call a cab, right?
Yeah, me too.
You know, who does this today, right? Like if you can just do it on your phone, and when you have the choice, people will always go with the self-serve, right? Like, and they can do it fast, quick, on their own time. It's just
But what about those complicated use cases? I could see a skeptic going, well, like, oh, some people still want to talk to a person.
And
right?
we can.
So if there's something that, I get to an answer, but I'm just not comfortable, or I want a second opinion, or I want to just talk to a human being, you guys still have that option.
We still have it,
right?
because I completely understand it, right? Like, there's different demographics. People have different preferences. We still have, like people that are benefit experts. They're on our team. They're all in the U.S. They all speak English and Spanish, and they can answer any question that somebody wants to talk to a live person. They can. And people do. I will say that about 95% of our interactions are completely AI-driven, which means they're self-serve. You don't have to wait till somebody gets back to you. But for that 5%, we do have those benefit experts, and they're doing an amazing job. I think our average satisfaction from our benefit experts is 4.8 out of 5, which is amazing to see. And our SLAs are less than an hour. We'll get back with an answer. But yeah, some people prefer to talk to a live person, or they have something more complicated, and we can.
I glossed over, but I want to go back. I think we talked about this over coffee. The decision support tool also will incorporate whether or not your existing doctors are in network, right? Which is a big thing, especially that CEO is going, hey, is my doctor in network or not? And that might change their decision of whether or not to pick a plan. So that's part of the process too.
It is part. So we'll ask you which doctor you usually go to, and I can tell you that some people, that's their main factor in choosing a plan. They don't want to change their therapist or their kid's dentist or whatever it is. They don't want to go to somewhere else, and they want to make sure that the plan that they choose actually covers that. Think about when you were with PO. Usually POs have multiple plans. Like you can have like sometimes 10 different plans to choose from. Every plan covers something else, and to be able to see for each plan, this plan covers all of my doctors. This plan covers only half of them. This plan covers none of them. And then you can make a conscious decision of, okay, do I really want to change doctors, or do I want to stay with the same one, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's important for a lot of people, because it's one thing to say, hey, yes, I've solved this problem for you and showed you the lowest cost option, but your doctor, by the way, that you've gone to for 20 years is no longer a network. Well, I'm not going to pick that plan at that point, right? But one thing I do want to ask you, and one of the challenges for a company like yours that is so young and agile and fast moving, is how do you make sure your core focus doesn't get distracted by too many shiny objects, right?
That's a great question, and we have to stay focused, right? Like, we can't do everything, and I think the way we do it is we start with something, we get really good at it, and then we expand, right? So, for example, care navigation, we started with that, became really good at it, created like a very cool user experience, and then expanded to price transparency, and then expanded to decision support, and then added the telehealth. But we still have one mission, right? We're trying to make healthcare more accessible. We're not trying to. Somebody asked me the other day, can Zoe recommend how much money to put in my 401k? And I was like, no, that's not what we're trying to do.
That's not what we're doing.
Yeah, you will have a link to your 401k on Healthee, because we want to make sure that you have all of your benefits in one place. But we're not focusing on your 401k. We're really focusing on making sure that you understand your health benefits, and we want to make sure that that healthcare is accessible for you. So as long as we keep that in mind, and that's our focus, every time there's a shiny object that is not related to our mission, we're just not going to do it. But even just that mission has so many things that we can do.
Of course.
And we want to make sure that we're following our users' feedback, and we're trying to find, okay, what else do you need to, even the booking appointments. We didn't have the ability to book appointments, 6 months ago, but now we do, because we had users that told us, okay, great, I figure out if I'm covered for something, I figure out how much it's going to cost, I figure out where I can go, but what about booking an appointment? I still have to call or go somewhere else to do that. So we fixed that. So we built out a capability. So we're constantly thinking of or getting feedback from our users, not just users, by the way, from our partners, HR leaders, brokers, POs, TPAs. What more do you think we need to work on to make it more valuable? And we have a long list, right? And
sure. Well, and on the subject of roadmap, as much as you can or are willing to share, are there anything that is definitively next that you're going to bring forth or is already in development?
Yeah, so obviously there's as I mentioned, there's 6 to 12 features that we come up with every quarter, but we're now adding, for example, pharmaceuticals. We're adding medication. Okay. Yeah, so Zoe will be able to tell you. First of all, we'll ask you for the decision support which medication you're taking, and we'll tell you the plans that are actually covering those medication. You'll be able to ask Zoe, hey, I got a prescription for this medication. Where can I get it, right? And we want to be able to not only tell you where you can get it, I want to get to a place where you'll click a button that medication will come to your house, right? Again, you don't have to talk to anybody else, and it's possible. It maybe sound like not possible, but it is, and we already have.
Well, the pieces already exist, right? That's
exactly
just it. Like all these things. I mean, I could think of Scriptco down in Austin does wholesale like pass-through pricing on all generics, and it's all mail order, and there's a robotics fulfillment. Cool. Now that's a thing that exists. If you can connect that thing with the member's needs, now you have a delivery mechanism, right?
Exactly.
And what I think where you guys really become entrenched is your ability to combine all those things back into like that little Rubik's Cube we talked about earlier. But that is really the biggest problem in self-funded healthcare right now is the complexity of the moving parts.
And it's not just bringing it all together, it's embedding it to one single experience, right? Because I don't want to send, like with your example of the fulfillment center, I don't want to send the user to the fulfillment center. I want them to have just converse with Zoe. This is the medication I need. This is my address. And she'll send it to me.
Send it to me. Yeah. And it shows up in 24, 48 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted it to show up in 2 hours.
2 hours,
But that's where
we get those drones dropping off the medication.
I mean, we gotta be. We always talk about we want to dream big, right? If we don't dream big, we're not going to be successful because we're always dreaming big. We're always kind of trying to overextend to what of the art of possible, right? So I'll give you another example of our roadmap: bills, right? So today, when you get a bill, you can go and talk to our live support. They'll kind of explain the bill. They'll try to find if there's any mistakes in there. 70% of bills have mistakes. But when you think about it, we know your plan design. We know how much you're supposed to pay. We get your bill. We can easily kind of compare those and say, well, actually there's a mistake because your dentist should charge you $25 for a visit, but they charge you $50 because of a mistake. And we can use AI to do that. So we can kind of like scan your EOB, your bill. We know your plan design and tell you, hey, this is the mistake that you have, and maybe even help you kind of like get your money back.
Well, and I think there's a use case there for sure that sort of like on the surface level mistakes that are catchable with AI. Like I think those are programmable. I had a company on that does something like that, and they find 7 to 11% or whatever. Then there's the deeper level forensics, like which may require a little bit more labor intensity, but you can find. I mean, I've heard estimates of 30 to 40% of most bills, especially hospital bills, are unnecessary overcharges, et cetera, et cetera.
I heard 70%.
70? Yeah. Okay. Well, then, I mean, it's a big
crazy.
number.
I
don't know exactly what the number is. But what it does speak to is, right, there's an opportunity because Healthee is not just about creating an ecosystem for like a one-stop shop, but it's also like, how do we lower the cost of health too? Right?
And we are lowering our costs. I mean, we have self-insured customers that we're saving them hundreds of thousands of dollars every month or every year, right? Depends on their size, because we steer employees to more telehealth. And our telehealth has no claim associated to it, right? So it's a $0 claim. So when we steer more employees to use our telehealth, and because it's embedded into the platform, it shows up in different places in the platform. You don't have to remember that you have it. It just shows up when you need it. So we're saving employers hundreds of thousands of dollars by steering employees to lower cost option, by steering them to telehealth, by keeping them in network. And it's amazing to see. I mean, it is one of the things that, by the way, we sell to employers. You got to have an ROI, right? I mean, employers, businesses, they are driven by outcomes. And if you can't prove ROI, I mean, yes, we have.
It's one thing to deliver a great experience that feels good.
Right.
It's another thing to deliver a great experience that feels good and saves money.
Exactly.
Right? Like, and that's how you really get sticky over time.
ClaimDoc is a medical claim auditing and member advocacy company. We provide fiduciary services to employer-sponsored benefit plans and allowing them to create an environment where we ensure that the benefit plans are being charged on a fair and reasonable basis.
My business is basically people, and it become a real simple transition. We thought it was going to be far more complex. I've saved, we'll say, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I could not say enough about ClaimDoc.
But this is it speaks to one of those things that I've changed my core philosophy on over time, and I'd love to hear your opinion. Is I used to be of the mindset, employers that are self-funded don't need to tell their employees that they're self-funded because why bother? I have done a 180 on that opinion over the last 8 to 10 years, because it's like, no, you should tell them, and they should participate in it, and they should know what it costs to deliver a plan to them. They should know what they're contributing to the plan. They should know if I make a bad decision and cost the company a lot of money, that actually is tied to an increase in cost for the following year, right? Like, so like they haven't had, when you're trained to be somewhat in the dark like a fully insured plan would offer you, and you don't really care because it's really the insurer's money, but
Right.
it's still the employer's money because of the renewal the next
Right.
year. But when you're now self-funded and you see, oh, what can I do as an individual to help my employer save money? I still get quality care, I still get a
Right.
good outcome, but also I know that I'm now saving them money. By extension, that's going to aggregate into savings over time for the employer and the member.
And when you have co-insurance, you're also saving out of pocket, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Especially, we have one in our embedded in our program at Pareto, which is a KISS card. It's now Valence, but they have a shopping tool with direct contracts for things like imaging. And if the member chooses the one that's incentivized, waiving out of pocket, and it's lower cost. That's a harmony in the plan that is created. And so I don't know what your opinion about that transparency.
I completely agree. I think transparency is the way to go, because as an employee of a company, you also want to assume that the employee wants the best of the company, right? They want the company to be successful. And with rising healthcare costs, it just makes kills your margins. It increase your expense, and reduces your margin. And as an employee, I want to be able to help my company be successful, right? So if I can be a smarter consumer, if you give me the right tools and I can do that, I don't think any employee will they'll embrace that transparency, and they'll try to be a smarter consumer, because, as you said, it's going to save money for me. It's going to make my company more successful. It's going to lower my premium, or not increase my premium as much as they will if I'm not a smart consumer. I'm all for.
It's your same premise too. Is like, if you actually arm people with the right information, they'll make good decisions. Right.
Exactly.
This is just a bigger version of that. Right. Well, one thing I want to talk about is we haven't really positioned. We touched on TriNet, right? We've obviously touched on the consulting channel as a distribution channel for you. But I didn't realize the variety of applications of players within that ecosystem that could roll out a Healthee. So like the TPA world as an example, TPAs are a great partner to be able to offer Healthee. So how does that work?
Yeah, so we partner with TPAs. Basically, TPAs, when you think about it, they want to provide an amazing experience to their customers, right? There's so many TPAs. You want to differentiate yourself somehow. And it's funny because everybody's talking about AI, but nobody's really doing something about it. So when TPAs partner with us, they can actually say, we're not just talking about AI. We're bringing AI into your employees, into your members' hands. So we partner with TPAs because we can help them, first of all, reduce their call intake, right? So a lot of calls come into the TPA with questions, right? So I heard some TPAs will double and triple their call center during open enrollment because there's so many questions, right? So they'll have like 30 people on their call center, but their open enrollment would be 100. So we reduce all of that because of our plan comparison tool. We help reduce costs for claim costs, actual claims. We reduce that. We provide a much better user experience. So I think it's a natural for us, like the TPA role. We only started doing that a little less than a year ago, but we already have a few TPAs that are working with us. We're seeing amazing results.
It's a very complimentary service, and the stigma always associated with the TPA is feel like anytime you ever hear a TPA mentioned, it's in some negative light because their service sucked or whatever. And it's like most of it's probably not true. It's just an individual, raising a flag for some reason. But I think what it does is solve some of those problems on their behalf, because they don't have the same technological infrastructure that you guys are offering. Rather than go build it too, just take something that already exists and embed it in your.
And
offering.
even if you think about it, go build it, right? Like a TPA has so many things that they're doing. To go and build a platform like Healthee, it's almost impossible for them, right? Like they shouldn't be focusing on that. They should be focusing on other things that they're doing really well, and that's why they partner with us.
Well, and I think, I could think of other applications, right? Like the way that people get a plan, if 165 some odd million people get their plan through their employer, that could be an ICHRA. That could be, that could be a small group product, could be a level funded product. There's also the Medicare world that's like massive, right? So, I mean, is there anything that you guys couldn't possibly
I don't think so. And I think, first of all, it's not our mentality is that we can do everything, right? Like, that's where we want to be. But I can give you an example. Like, we never thought about the uninsured, right? But now suddenly we have customers that are uninsured because we provide them free telehealth to their employees, right?
So what type of employer would have that uninsured?
So think about
population?
like a restaurant chain,
okay,
right? They have hourly employees. They don't sign up for healthcare because it's too expensive, unfortunately, right? So you have employees and their families that are not covered at all. And suddenly we come in and we say, well, we're going to give you telehealth. Therapist or primary care physician, unlimited, and you can use it, all your employees, the uninsured ones. Suddenly it's a huge benefit for that employer, right? Because these employees, and I get it, they will leave in a heartbeat if they get offered like 20 cents an hour more, right? They'll go to a different restaurant or a different employer. But suddenly you give them some sort of healthcare, right? You
Yeah.
give them like access to doctors and therapists, and they'll think twice before they leave for another 20 cents. It's a huge benefit.
So your benefits automatically being extended to those folks that even don't choose
Exactly.
the plan.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And so the employer is just covering the PEPM cost or something.
Yeah, it's a PEPM cost,
Yeah.
very, very affordable one. And for a very minimal cost, you suddenly give these people access to doctors and their family.
Yeah.
Right?
That's pretty incredible, right? Because that is a population that doesn't really get addressed.
Right.
And they're not choosing a plan for a multitude of reasons. One, it's the tenure. Two, it's probably cost.
It's cost.
You may have some folks that are undocumented that, are not
Right.
choosing a plan for whatever reason. This gives them at least something. Right?
Right.
And that something is ultimately better than nothing.
right.
For sure. And so, all right, so let's zoom back out, Guy, then, because we've covered a lot of bases, and it's astonishing your growth. But as I think about the next couple of years for you, or as you think about that, what do you think that's going to look like for Healthee?
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of things that we're working on now, like partnership with, more POs, more TPAs, Ben admins, and the opportunity is almost infinite, right?
Yeah.
And we're getting pulled into different directions, but at the end of the day, they're all at the same core of helping people be healthier. So I think for us, it's just keep growing. Like I don't know if we're going to do another 100x year, but if we can do
If you do another 100x year, we're having you back again for a year. But is there anything you've like said no to, right? Surely you've turned down some ideas.
Of course,
or,
we say no all the time to partners that want to partner with us that we think is not the right partner for us, or they're trying to make us build capabilities that we're not focused on. I give the 401k example.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, we say no a lot, but we also say yes a lot, because if we find opportunities that are good for us and we think that will help us kind of achieve our goals of helping people be healthier, we partner with them. And yes, we have a lot going on. We are working, even now as we speak, we have, multiple partnerships that we're building integrations with and trying to build that seamless user experience, and all of them are massive. And once they're out there, it will be another jump in growth for us, right? Because it just opens more channels for us.
Well, and I think that one of the things that happens when you're still young, and you said TriNet reviewed all your competitors, and even though you guys are the youngest, they chose you. I think what it also speaks to is it doesn't always pay to be the first one in a category. Right. And once you sort of start developing, and a lot of companies get stuck in this trap, they developed it, they built their software, and it sort of stays and looks stagnant for years, right? And it's not just reskinning it with new UI. It's no, are you evolving the software constantly?
Right.
Not tinkering so much that you make it break, but there are plenty of systems that started, blew up in a category, and then stayed really stagnant because it just didn't evolve fast enough.
I can tell you one thing that we're not stagnant. We have an amazing VP R&D, Ron, that keep pushing us to kind of innovate. And I told this over coffee. We were talking to a potential partner that basically said, hey, look, I can go and build something. I can, invest $30 million, bring developers, and build something like this in 2 years. But by the time I'm done, you're already, Healthee is already going to be 2 years ahead, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, actually, we're not going to be 2 years ahead because we're running. We'll be 4 years ahead, right?
Yeah.
And we're keeping it. We're always delivering and innovating all the time.
Well, and do you think wearables play a role, the data that wearables track that play a role? Because if your mission is really to help people be healthier, let's say I'm working out and my blood pressure spikes like crazy or something, or I'm, overnight my heart rate drops, right? Being able to track that information, have it go to a system and then help them, right? Do you see that?
It is something that's on our roadmap, right? Leveraging wearables and data from there to kind of, again, help you with your healthcare journey. It's definitely something, again, we want to become that one-stop shop for everything that has to do with health and wellness. So we're not dealing with wearable now, but it is definitely on our roadmap. And there's a lot of other things that you can bring into the platform that are, nutrition and wellness.
Well, I think if you guys venture in the PBM space, then you have the area of pharmacogenomics, right? Which is if those people that don't know, that's you take a blood test and essentially it says these medications are indicated for you, these are not. You're a high metabolizer of this, metabolizer, you're a low metabolizer of this. Now you have concise, clear information of what drugs maybe should or should not be prescribed to an individual, right? And then you help in the procurement. There's so many connection points, dude, that I could see happen for you guys. And I'm just really excited of where you are so far. You had your recent raise as well. Kudos to you. And then ultimately, if you had a moonshot, Guy, what's the moonshot for you, man?
Our next moonshot is 5 million users, right?
Okay.
That's where we want to be. We're making strides and we're moving really fast, but that's where we want to be. And you ask me, okay, what after that? Then the next 5 million, right? Because our mission is to help people be healthier, and if we're very focused on it, we're constantly. I'm on the road probably 4 out of 4 weeks or 3 out of 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I do it because I go meet partners and customers, and I want to make sure that, every employee has Zoe and every employee has Healthee, because we can help them be healthier.
Well, and as crazy as it sounds, and you have these big, hairy, audacious goals, but I think with Pareto, and I talk about this quite a bit, is there's no reason it's not a household concept at some point, right? Like, we are a name in our category, but in our category is still a niche within healthcare.
Yeah.
But there's no reason that it can't proliferate to a scale where an average American has heard of Pareto Health, just because the use case is so strong and the scalability is there. I feel like you guys fit in that same mold. I could see Healthee on the side of a soccer stadium or a football stadium at some point.
Look, I think for me, the vision is that an employee comes to a new employer and they'll be, oh, you don't have Healthee? How do you access your health benefits? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? Like, that's where I want to be.
Almost dumbfounded that that's
exactly.
not the case.
Yeah, it needs to be in every employer and in every employee hands, because that's how we're going to change the way we access healthcare. And that's why I want to become, think about it, there's millions of companies in the US, millions. Mm-hmm. How many of them heard, even though, we have an amazing marketing team, and our VP marketing is doing a great job. How many have heard about Healthee by now?
Right.
A few thousand? 99.9% or 99.5% of the market hasn't even heard about us yet, right? We're still getting out there and we're still building our brand. And we have a lot of work to do, but again, it's infinite.
Cool, man. Well, how about this? Closing thoughts from you, Guy. I appreciate you traveling back down again, man. And I know it's a big trek, but to leave the audience with 1 or 2 nuggets, what do you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I would say that, one of the things that I say a lot is that AI today is the worst it's ever going to be, right? Because it's just getting better. And we need to embrace AI tools in our day-to-day life, because it's gonna impact everything. And healthcare is one of the most important things that we have, our health, right? And if we don't embrace AI to help with our health, we're missing, right? We're missing something, and we need to do that. And that's something that, I keep talking with employers, and many of them are very much forward-looking, and they're looking for those AI solutions. And some of them are just thinking, okay, is AI just, is it a trend?
A fad,
yeah, exactly. And it's not. It's here to stay, and it can really, really impact our lives and our employees' lives. And that's what I wanted to get to. I want people to understand that AI has an ability, or it can really improve our health. And that's what we're doing.
Awesome, man. Well, all the best to you, Guy, and Omer, and Nina. Please tell them I said hello. I actually would love, a year from now, let's have you on episode 200 and do this all over again. But thanks again for being gracious with your time and coming to tell the story. I do appreciate you.
It was great being here. Thank you.
Awesome.